Welcome back to our second of our challenges sessions. I'm very much looking forward to this. There are three topics, all of which are very close to my heart. So I won't waste any of your time before handing over to Alice Borgner, who's going to tell us, can we fight the crisis of the classics with a digital approach? Tell us, Alice.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alice Borgner. I come from the University of Eastern Piedmont. And first of all, I really like to make my apologies because for this challenge I'm going to say quite the same thing I say on Monday during the conference. So my presentation will be very boring for people who had already been bored by me on Monday. But unfortunately, in those 2 days, the crisis of the classics has not been solved, or maybe nobody has informed me. If there's, please inform me. So the topic is still the same. In this presentation, more or less, I tried to propose an answer, or maybe to make a proposal to a difficult question. Might a digital approach be useful to help classics? I'm a classicist indeed. To exit from the crisis in which they are, at least in my country. I'm from Italy. Trying to find an answer, the first step is naturally to looking for the reason of this crisis. One, as I said on Monday, could be a certain immutability of the corpus of author we study and we teach. In other words, can classics and humanities in general survive if we continue to work on the same old syllabus of text and with the same old approach? And so the core question is, how can we reverse this negative trend? This is a big question, I know, is impossible to solve in a few minutes presentation, but I think that if we want classics and humanities not only to survive, but also to flourish again, one of the solutions could be the interaction between digital humanities. As a case study, I will briefly show you the DigiLib LT project in which I'm involved. DigiLib is, as you can see, is a digital library of late antique Latin text, and indeed is a digital library of late antique prose from the 2nd to the 6th century AD. This is our team. As you can see, we are a very composite and international group. But I'd like you to note the last point, the high number of young postdoc, PhD, master students, but even undergraduates. And what is more about that is that everyone in our project is involved in all the development phases, and each according to experience, of course. But this is an important point, in my opinion. The entire team is aware of all the steps, from the simplest one, like the digitization, to the big issue related with the problem solving and project management. But on these topics I come back later. Now I briefly show you what is DigiLib. DigiLib is not only a simple database, but for us it's a digital library, so a working environment. Something like our dream is to produce something like a digital department of late antiquity with books, but also much more than books. The texts are encoded according to TEI and can be downloaded freely in multiple formats. The search windows allows users to search in different subcorpora. This is an example of our page. But I want to come to the core of these challenges. Why digital projects such as a digital library can help fighting this crisis, as I said before? In my opinion, we can talk about at least 3 kinds of impact that a digital library have: social, pedagogical, and of course scientific. But why a digital library can have a social and a pedagogical impact? Because one of the best features of a digital library is to make available a wide range of material. And in our case, we are talking about material, the late antique literature, that is traditionally located only in university libraries. But if we make this material freely available all over the world, we can release scholars and students from real libraries that are facilities not equally available all over the world. As a consequence, we can offer scientific material to those countries that now are looking toward humanities and especially looking toward classics to rediscover their ancient roots. For example, Brazil, where the interest is growing, interest in classics is growing at all levels. Our department, as I said on Monday, collaborated with an experimental project in Sao Paulo, the Minimus project, where children from favelas, not from high class, play and learn from 7 and 10 years old, play and learn with Latin. But to be honest, we are living in a world where universities are far less focused on humanities than in the past. But even science and technology subjects are growing. This should not imply, in our opinion, an automatic reduction of humanity. So the question is, more science is less Latin? No, this is our answer, actually. More science, more Latin. With digital library, we can adapt our classes to the new generation of digital native and also release teachers from textbooks that often make, especially Latin and ancient Greek classics, flat and boring. In addition, the presence of an important digital project in a department of classics show how a digital program, a digital approach can help to revive the classic program itself, a program often avoided by students because they fear with a degree in classics they will have a problem in finding a job. But if we bring the student in our huge digital project, we can add to their CV some significant technical competence, such training in XML, TI, editing software, and so on. And against a backdrop of a deep economic crisis with a dramatic youth unemployment rate, this new skill can make our graduates more attractive on the job market. And a huge project like DigiLib, it's a huge project, could also be the starting point for the development of new projects. These are the example of two spin-offs that are born from DigiLib, as you can see. And this is, thank you for your attention.
All right, thank you. That was great timing as well. So, who wants to kick off with comments? Again, let's try and keep this as a general discussion here. Is there a crisis, not just perhaps in classics in terms of Greek and Roman world, but also other areas where there is a canon or very traditional notions of the content or the methods, and to what extent can digital humanities perhaps challenge some of those notions whilst not, as we say, throwing the baby out with the bathwater? There will be opinions. Great.
I'm Jose Luis from the Wrocław University in Poland. I got your point, the crisis in classical, but it's difficult to understand for me that if you're working on a project like that, that's not crisis. I mean, that's my point.
But this is one of the few projects in Italy of this dimension. One. And the other point, I don't speak about this in this presentation, but maybe in the last day I speak with some of you about this, is the question of the evaluation of the digital project if you want to make an academical career. This is a very strong point now in Italy. In Italy, I don't know in your country, but if you want to be a full professor or an associate professor, now I'm a postdoc, so I'm fighting to have a tenure. You have to have a book made by paper in Italy. With a book, it's difficult to get an important position, no, not unimportant, to get a fixed position, a position with a digital product. And this is awful because the committee understands that without a digital side in your project you cannot have money, but when it's come about evaluate the researcher, they say, okay, without the label of, for example, Label Lettre, I speak up for classes, or Oxford University Press, Cambridge University Press, this collection give you a label of quality in your work. And speaking with about digital project and digital product, we have we had some war and fighting for have the correct recognition of our work. At least in my country. I hope abroad the situation is better. I really hope.
Wait, there's a microphone.
I come from Germany, and it's the same everywhere, I think. But I think that's also the duty of all our organizations to do something about that and develop criteria for the evaluation of these works, and then push them through, also through the funding agencies and through the universities by all means.
Great. It's not related to that. We want to change. Somebody wants to. No, it's okay. We change to. That's fine.
Thank you. I was thinking on this question: can humanity survive? And I think the problem is not digitality or digitization or this digital world. I'm very critical with nowadays, and I can see the valuation of culture in general. Less wise people and less good cultural references. So in Spain, education is going down, and with the kids, with my nephews, it's terrible. They are really ignorant. So
Ignorant.
And I think my father said the same with my education and my grandpa. So I think humanities are losing weight, but it's not only because of digital, I think. Thank you.
Digital can be a way to give our students more tool to be attractive on the job market, I think. And to, the digital world can be a way in which we can attract again students, because I know a lot of 18 years old that they like Italian studies, Greek and Roman studies, but they say, I cannot enroll in classics program. My parents want me to be an engineer or to be a chemist, because with a humanities degree maybe I will be unemployed. So if we open our program to this new language, to this even with this collaboration with computer science, I met in those days a lot of computer scientists here. We can have more students and more students. Okay. But I know that there is an ancient Egyptian papyrus. It's a memory of a teacher from school. It was very, very ancient. It's a, oh, nowadays my students are so ignorant, and we saw.
The golden age is
I think clearly one thing we have to always bear in mind is that younger people today and children are bombarded with far more information than we ever were. It's often of a different period. It's not what we necessarily think they should know or is canonical and so on. But their actual exposure to information about any number of things is far wider. How much they absorb, of course, is up to a great deal of debate. Any more questions? Great. Yeah.
Is there someone that has a successful story about this? Like, for example, I don't know, a university that has a degree in classical studies and putting some more digital humanities in their curriculum, they have more students, or these kind of successful stories? Experience, or someone knows about someone?
I think in Italy this was a good start. There were some successful stories until 2 years ago. 2 years ago in Italy was with the time of the big abilitazione. So all the lecturer and researcher, if they want to become full professor or assistant professor, have to do this abilitation. And during this abilitation, maybe a very few percentage, for example 2% of all the scholars involved in digital humanities, because we don't have a subject digital humanities. You have to participate to the abilitation, to be have your habilitation in not in digital humanities, but for example for me in classics, for other in for Italian studies, blah, blah. But all my teacher or person I know that were involved in digital humanities don't get this habilitation, because if you read the report of the commission, you say, oh, is involved in this project, this is interesting, but what is the scientific part of it? And after this, it was some kind of stop, because the people was afraid of say, okay, I work years and years, and they do not recognize all my effort, and was some kind of bad mood in this. But they start to again to fight for this. This is a very bad situation. I think we have to find a solution all together as a cooperation between the single Digital Humanities Association in every country to have more strength.
I don't have a success story with respect to the academic sector, but I've got a small success story with respect to the summer school in Leipzig. Yes. This year, a firm actually came to us asking to be a sponsor, and they are desperately looking for people who have got a digital humanities background, because they do a lot of TEI, because they work together with the big publisher houses like De Gruyter, Springer, and people like this, and they do a lot of work for them, and they need people. So I think that's a very small success story, but I was so amazed. We would never have expected firms coming towards us, asking us to be sponsors.
I don't have a successful story about academia and world, but I have some successful story about some of my students interested in digital humanities. They found a job after a very good job after the degree. They found a very good PhD position abroad. They travel. They make a lot of experience that a student in classics, maybe especially in my country, can be very old-fashioned mind in some way. They study with the book in library, and the ones who are interested in the digital side, they come to the digital side, have a very successful experience after the degree, more than the old-fashioned style.
It's worth saying, I think it's very country specific as well. I think the United Kingdom, United States, perhaps Germany there's definitely, in recent years, there's been an improvement, I think, in employment, but a lot of it also comes down to the teaching, and a lot of universities are reluctant to give permanent positions to people where they don't know whether or not they can teach, as it were, the traditional courses that they assume that their students will want. So often I think there's a need to back up some of the things with the clear ability to teach a range of traditional as well as technical subjects. We're going to have to finish there, unfortunately, just because of time, but yeah, thanks again, Alicia.